Okay. Thank you for enduring my fancy schmancy intro. And we have one other Brittany that will be joining us at some point here. I don't know if she'll be tuning in right now, but we are going to start and let her join us when she can. So, hi, everybody.
Huh?
It's
Okay.
nice to be here with you. We've got a nice group here. Um, this class is very informal. This is not where I stand up here and lecture. And this is a conversation. It's a mentorship. It is an exploration. When I teach in person, one of the most important lessons I try to instill is that we only grow through failure. Acting is one of those professions that, unless you get up and try and put your 100% into it, you are not going to grow. And by doing so and going boldly in the direction where you think you're supposed to go and getting it wrong, uh, that's when we have a chance to talk about, like, okay, you made some really great choices. Let's talk about how to tweak those and adjust those. So that's what I'm going to ask of you for this course, is to sort of put in your oar that way. And if you ever need anything from me while I'm teaching, just interrupt and say, "Hey, Keith, could you fill me in on this a little bit better?" And I'll be happy to fill in any blanks. One of the things you'll see is this. You'll see me. Then you may also sometimes on your screen see this. This is the Zoom panel, right? And I'm doing that because I want what is on there to go to the recording. So if you see that, nothing's gone wrong on your end. It's just me sending a different input to the Zoom recording, and then I'll also have some documents and some other things that I'll be showing you on the screen there. So why don't we start with introductions? Because that's the lame ass thing you're supposed to do first night, but it's not, because I genuinely want to know a couple of things. I want to know why you're here, what you want to get out of this, introduce yourself to everybody else in the class, and then anything else you'd like to add. So let's see. Why don't we start with Lauren?
Okay. My name is Lauren Seymour. In this class, I wanted to learn about acting because I wanted really to be a screenwriter and make movies. But I need to know the placement of actors need to be, and how to direct them, and then also if I had to do a cameo or something like that, um, do that. I'm based out of Hampton, Virginia, and I did a short film about a year ago. So I just want to, build up my confidence and also just network with a lot of people in different genres of movies and television. Um, that's about it.
And Lauren, do me a favor and
Mhm.
put a link in the chat to if you have the link for one of your films and you'd like to share it with the
Okay.
class, you're welcome to. I invite anybody, if you have some things you'd like to share, to put them in the chat so that everybody can see them. It's part of watching one another's work. I believe that a lot of people approach this industry as being highly competitive, and while it is, I'm a big believer in community and support. And as long as one of us gets the job and not some jerk from LA or New York, that's a celebration for us. So, so we celebrate us. So if you want to share what you're doing, please feel free to do so. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go down here to Naya.
Hello,
Hi,
my
Naya.
name is Naya. Hi, my name is Naya Gore. I'm from Newport News, Virginia. I just had a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday!
Thank
Okay.
you. I just turned 23. I've done a little bit of extra work. I've done The Walking Dead. I did this other show called Swagger on Apple TV. I don't know if y'all have heard of it.
Indeed, we have, or I have at least.
Yep.
Sorry.
But I really want to be an actor. So I
Super.
want to get out of my comfort zone and really do it. That's why I'm here.
Excellent. Very good. Love that. Brittany.
Hey everybody, I'm Brittany Scow. I'm in Portsmouth. And I wanted to take this class because I finally have all of the equipment I need for self tapes. For
Yay.
the longest time, I was going to people or using my iPhone, which is fine. Um, but I finally have like the camera and I got the lights and all that stuff. So I really, it's been a while since I've even auditioned for anything. So I really want to like brush up on that and, you know, I guess perfect it as much as I can.
Excellent, excellent. And we will be talking about tonight the baseline. What can you get away with for taping auditions? What's the minimum you
Yeah.
need? And from there on up is up to you. But you're right. Most people now are using these for taping
Yeah.
auditions, and there's some do's and don'ts that we'll talk about. But good. I'm glad you can do this now. Yay.
I know I'm excited. It's been so long since we've been in the class.
It's
I'm
been
so excited to just be
forever.
talking to
I
people.
know, I know. Well, I'm glad you could come back to this and we get to work together again.
Yeah.
It's nice. Stephen.
Hello. I'm making sure that the microphone is piping through the
You're
right way.
great.
Is this the good microphone?
It's the good microphone. We can hear you just fine.
Fantastic. All right. Hi, I'm Steven Rogers. I actually went to school for film long, long ago, but it wasn't for acting or directing. It was for, below the line stuff. I've done a little bit of grip work, a lot of electric work, and I've bounced from coast to coast, chasing that work, eventually giving up on it, going full white collar, and now we're back. I'm in my 30s. I just had a birthday in July. It's time to rediscover the love of film. Which, I mean, I still love it, but now I'm coming at it from a different angle. But yes, acting, love it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, happy birthday to you as well, and I'm glad that I hope that we can move you in that direction. I would love to see you doing that. Excellent. All righty. And then Josh.
Hello, everybody. I'm Josh here in Virginia Beach. I am originally from Hampton, so I forgot your name, iPhone 13.
Lauren.
Lauren. But yeah, I'm from Hampton as well. Coming off of the heels of a 48-hour film.
Woohoo!
Pretty hectic.
How'd you guys do?
Yeah,
Eh.
I guess we did all right. I think this is my last 48 for a
Is it?
while. It was pretty hectic, but yeah. So actually, I didn't go to school for film. I went for something completely different, which is in my profession. But now I decided to actually, chase my passion a little bit more, which is acting, film. I did a bunch of it in high school. We did a YouTube film, did a couple. This is my third 48, so I've been bouncing around and stuff like that. But I really want to hit it full throttle this time
Excellent.
around. 26 in my mid 20s, and I feel like I can actually try to hit it now.
Excellent.
So, but yeah, I'm Josh. So that was my intro.
It's great, Josh. It's nice to have you here. This is a great class. This is good. It's everybody's, I think, head is in the right place. When I start teaching acting the first night, there are things that I tell classes. One of which is get a journal, because acting is not just what happens in the class. It is what you experience and discover about yourself through the process of doing anything that is acting related. There are some of us that get into acting because, and this is a lot of us actually, at first we have this desire for attention and validation. And that's what brings us to us. We can stand on stage and people go, "Can't you see it's him, it's her." Yeah, we get the applause and the attention, and it feels great. And that's what brings some of us to this at first. And others of us, we hate ourselves and we are not comfortable in our own skins, and we are very much happier playing someone else. That's me. And that's why some of us get into it. And others, have a natural sort of tendency to maybe love the art of it. That's a very small group at first. But eventually, all of those groups have to be directed toward something that is lasting. the pursuit of fame and the pursuit of wealth it's just not a realistic goal within this industry, because the odds are immeasurably against us. It doesn't mean you don't try and give it 100%, but if that's the expectation, people tend to become disillusioned very quickly because they don't get there when they think they should be there. And usually that's because most people don't understand, how hard you have to work and how long you have to work and the price that you must pay to get to that point, which is a 100% surrender of everything to that goal. And even then you might fail. But it's kind of that. So, that's a big ask for a lot of people. So instead, what we come to do is we come to look at the craft of acting, the doing of acting, the art of acting, as a thing we try to perfect on our own. Something that we know that we will always be seeking to be better at. And that sort of fixation, that sort of personal measure of success is the thing that lets you keep going, because we can always work to get better. But I tell people in that journal that I suggest that they have, that they're writing all their thoughts in, the very first thing they should write, very first thing is, and Brittany knows this because she's heard it, it is, you are not the shit. You will never be the shit. And even when you're the shit, you are not the shit. And that has a lot to do with sort of keeping our wits about us. Every one of us, all of you will do this, and I did it, and everybody does this. The moment you book your first real big job, you've been fighting for it, you've been struggling, you book your first TV show, your first movie, you go, all right, I'm there, see ya suckers, I'm on my way. And you think, here I go. And then you don't work again like that for 2 years. And but you feel like you're taking off. You feel like you've arrived. So just sort of keeping your head in the game, that the goal is, you're going to get an opportunity. The next one may take a while. So always kind of keep your head in that space. The other thing is let's talk for a moment about what acting is and what acting for the camera is. You must let go of this idea that what you need to show is a feeling on your face. Eliminate that from your thought process, because it is putting the end result ahead of everything else. Most of what we feel is visible through what we do, not the expression on our face, but instead how what we feel changes the way we go about things. So that's really important, is not to think about, well, what will be showing on my face? Should I look sad? Should I look happier? We'll talk about what to do instead of that. And the other thing is that acting is about, well, I have a prop. I have a prop. This is a script. This is a script for a TV movie I did years ago. And there are different colored pages because every time they revise the script, they replace some pages with new colors so that you know what the new pages are. Your character is somewhere in there. It's a combination of the things that you do, the things that you say, and the things that other characters say about you. But we have to create a three-dimensional, nuanced, living, breathing human being that sees the world in a very specific way. And we call that their worldview, right? And once you know what their worldview is, you memorize the lines, you can step into a scene, and you can watch everyone else's behavior and the world around you, and everything that is said and is done by your character in that script will come out of you, because it's inevitable, because of the way you see the world. It changes the way you view other characters and other actors' behavior, so you naturally react that way. That's the shorthand of what we do. This box that I'm in right now, that you're all in, about there, the frame because it is a frame. Motion pictures because they used to be static. and then we lined a whole bunch of them up and we put them in motion, right? And this frame is always a carefully controlled sort of perspective. Everything that it's inside this frame, in a movie, in a television show, is carefully and tightly planned. What's in the background, what the lighting is in the foreground and the background, whether you're in focus or the person next to you, where someone stands here and another person is standing here. All of this is decided in the planning, in the run through and by the director to develop a composition of each shot. It is a photograph in motion. It is. But this frame also defines how intimately we are speaking, how intimately we are connecting with the person in front of us. This is a really important thing. Stage work is about selling truth, this character's truth, to the back row. And so we use our bodies and we use our voices and we project and we got to get it all the way to the back row. But once you put a camera in here, look at this framing. You know, look at me. I was like, if this were an intimate scene and I said, "Come on, you know I love you." That's just it's just bursting out. It's too big for this size framing. Now, if it were, say, this size framing, "Come on, you know I love you." It works better in here. I've got more room to move. My physicality is visible. I can use more of my body in space to tell the story. But what you can't see at this framing is the tear that's right here. It's gone. It's worthless in a framing like this. As opposed to if we go back into this close-up framing, right? If I'm here and there's a little tear that's welling up in my eye, when you get this close, you can see it. The language of the frame defines how much of our body we do or don't use and how much of simply looking and listening we do or don't use. All of that is the entire class. We will talk about all of that. Right now, each of you, tell me how far away you are from your camera. Point to it. Point to where your camera is. Great. So, Lauren, how far away are you?
I would say about maybe 2 feet.
2 feet. All right. Good. Naya?
I think I'm about 2 or 3 feet.
Great. Brittany?
Probably about 2 feet,
Okay.
arm's length.
Gotcha.
I got short arms though.
Josh?
I got pretty long arms, so I would say 2.5.
2.5. All right. And Stephen?
2.5, 3 feet.
Great, exactly. So you're all about, and I'm probably about 3 feet away from my camera right there. If you had a person standing right there, and you had to say, "Look, why don't you just come back tomorrow?" You wouldn't say, "Look, why don't you just come back tomorrow?" You wouldn't yell at them. They're right there, right? I'd like you to, over the next week or so, get used to the idea. Find somebody in your life and put them next to the camera and talk to them and pay attention to how loud you don't have to be when someone is that close. That is the nature of intimacy in a framing like this, okay? We'll come back to that. But that's the idea, is the frame and camera acting is about being able to deliver a sense of intimacy and a sense of vulnerability. In your journal, I have 3 questions I want you to answer for yourself. Let me know when you're ready. All right. For you, the actor, I want you to write down, what are you afraid that someone would say about you to others? What are you afraid that someone would think about you? Say to others, or to your face, let's say. Oops. And then what are you afraid someone would do to you? What is the thing that you genuinely fear someone would do to you? And these can and should be, pardon me, I'm responding to Brittany here, who it was
I'm sorry, what was the second question?
what are you afraid someone would think about you? So do to you, say to you, think of you. Okay, there we go. I want you to put some thought into this. When we sit in front of a camera, the character is the worldview, and the character is the thing in the script that the writers developed. But you're the one that's inside that character's, the character's inside your skin, technically, right? And there are moments of vulnerability for a character. And there are moments of genuine trepidation, fear, worry, when it comes to looking in somebody else's eyes. And when that happens, there is a moment, ideally, of singularity between character and self. And if you do not know where your vulnerable spots are, where your fears and vulnerabilities are, then there is no way that you can interface with the character, because you must be able and willing to accept your own. So this is just part of self-exploration. I am not going to ask you to share those with the class. So I want you to put as much genuine thought and emotion into those. Introspection. You can be as emotionally raw and honest with yourself as possible, but you should have some things that you can write down, okay? We'll talk about them sort of abstractly next week. Okay. That's the front load. That's all the, here's things I want you to think about. Here's the things I want you to investigate about yourself. Here are the big, broad concepts of the class. So what we're going to work on in this class is audition technique. And audition technique is the way we book work. For most of America, self-taped auditions didn't start until the pandemic. But here on the Mid-Atlantic and Southeastern Seaboard, we were doing self-tapes. I was doing self-tapes in 2009 because we had to drive. Every time I booked an audition, I'd have to drive 4.5 hours to Wilmington for 5 minutes in the room and drive 4.5 hours back. Sometimes I'd do that twice in a week. That's exhausting. And it's a lot of gas and it's a lot of money. And so they realized it. And they said, you know what, if you want, you can come down, but also you could self-tape if you want. And so we learned this process early. It is, the trick of it is, most casting directors want to see you deliver as close to a camera-ready performance as you can provide. Because that way, when they watch you, they're visualizing you in the role. And if anything happens or appears in the frame to distract them from that, then it works against you as they are trying to visualize you in the role. So let's say, that you're in a room with so if I were taping an audition right now, I'd take these reels down. Because the last thing I want while I'm doing an audition is them looking at me going, he looks like he has giant mouse ears, right? So I would get rid of those distractions. Anything in my background, I'd make sure I had a blank, neutral background. I'd make sure that there was no odd noise in the room, like my dog, who will sometimes wander into the audition, of course, right in the middle of a scene and shake, and his collar jingles, and then, that's going to pull somebody out. So that's what they're looking for. And that's our goal over the course of this class, is to starting from square one and move you all the way through multiple scene auditions to get you to that place. There are two kinds of auditions. One is you are what I call the stick in the main character's river. The movie is theirs. The audience has been following them along the whole time. The audience wants to know what's going to happen next with them because it's their story that the audience is invested in. So they're driving the cart. And we come along and we have what are basically called co-star roles. And co-star roles are, we have a scene, maybe 2, maybe 4 scenes, where we just kind of help the lead character get from one scene to another. We deliver a little teeny plot point. We keep things moving. At no point can that scene become about us, because it's not our movie. And there are some people who tell actors, make bold choices, stand out, and nobody wants the waiter who is pouring a glass of Malbec to make it about them. Make a bold choice. I'm going to be terrified that you're going to step into my movie and mess it up. No, just sort of blend in and do the job, right? But then there are these other types of roles where you are the river. And in those instances, you have to make strong, specific choices that drive the narrative forward. So we're going to cover both kinds of auditions in this class. So, okay, that's the pitch. So, any questions about that? It's a lot, I know. That's why I have recordings. I'm sorry. Questions?
I do, because I've done this a few times and it's never really panned out for me. How do you feel about props in self-tapes?
Absolutely.
Like I auditioned for, I don't remember what it was. It was like I don't know, the person, like, not the bouncer, but the person who checks people in, with the little clipboard and the little headset.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever that person is. And I put a little headset on. It wasn't super noticeable or gaudy, and I had a clipboard in my hand. Is that frowned upon, or I hear mixed opinions.
So there are a lot of casting directors who in their instructions are very specific about not using props, with generally one exception: a phone, a cell phone, right? I think that's bullshit. And I think a lot of people also think it's bullshit because there's nothing worse than watching an actor pantomime drinking. Come on.
Yeah.
That's gonna pull you out of a scene than pantomiming a glass, right? So I think the measure of whether or not we should use a prop has to do with how intrusive it is. If the prop is essential to the action, right, then have something in your hand. It used to be when we walked in the room, right, into the audition room, you weren't going to bring a box full of props. So you'd have your script. And I don't know how many times my script was a telephone, it was a flashlight. I'd turn that script into all kinds of things because it's what I had. But at home, if you had a clipboard and you're referencing the clipboard and you're listening to the thing, I think that's fine. What they don't want is, Mom, she just doesn't ever understand. And suddenly everything is about the damn prop, right?
Yeah.
That's disgusting. What is on that? Yeah. Anyway, dry erase. Sorry. So I think that's the measure. A prop that is used judiciously because the character is engaged in the job of using that prop, I think that's usually fine. And most casting directors will look the other way.
All out. It's kind of embarrassing.
I
auditioned for something. It was I want to say earlier this year. And it was something I randomly submitted myself to on Actors Access and was whatever, it's $2 per submission, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was oh, I got an audition, and it was for some kind of Western. So I got the outfit,
Oh dear.
And, it was a scene where I was pouring some guy shots or something like that. And I even had it was an old gin bottle that I cleaned off and was using. It was so embarrassing using that. Turns out they sent literally an audition to every single person who submitted.
Oh.
And then the casting call just got taken down of Actors Access altogether.
Well, the difficulty with props is that you have to act on their time. If you're pouring a shot, you have to take the time to pour a shot, and that can draw out an audition. That can interfere with the pace. of something like that. So that's why I would avoid that. And also, let's say you submit that audition and I really like what you did, but I don't think you're right for the cowpoke bartender part.
Yeah.
But I think you might be great for the nun. Well, then I got to show her, hey, would she work for the nun? It's hard to tell because she's in all that cowboy gear. So
exactly, yeah.
something to be said for that. Dressing
yeah.
suggestive of a role is probably a better choice. But
Okay.
great question.
So don't go too crazy with the
Don't.
props. Just enough. Gotcha.
Just enough to do the job. Right.
Okay.
Great question. Other questions? Anybody? Okay, then. I'm gonna launch into the PowerPoint presentation. Don't judge me. It's a good one. It's a good one. I've put effort into this to keep it light and entertaining. I would like to explain the casting process, mostly, and the production process and how it works. So if you will, allow me to please give you the PowerPoint. Here is how the casting process works for major film and television projects, mostly. I say mostly because it's not all of them, certainly. So it starts with an idea of some kind in concrete form, right? You got a screenplay, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a podcast or a news story, all right? And someone sees that, usually someone we call a producer, sees that there's really some worth in one of these and they want to make a movie of it. But keep in mind that a producer is somebody with some money and with some friends that have money that want to see a return on their investment. That is the one thing you need to remember more than anything else. People make movies that require investors so those investors can get a return on that investment. They get paid first because they put the money up. Okay? So, when the idea is being worked on to bring it into the core creative team and other investors, it's called in development. So if you go to imdb.com and you look at some actors, you'll see that they've got their filmography, and then above that, they've got some in pre-production and they have some in development. And that means that we're still kind of in the planning stages. Nobody's fully committed yet, but some people have expressed interest in working together. And that's sort of what this in development stage is like. So the development process starts with a producer, and we're going to call this person Teven Peelberg. Let's just go with Teven Peelberg. And Teven has seen a brilliant idea. And they need someone to tell the story of this book or news story. So they need a director. And this is going to be somebody with a track record because, again, money is at stake and they have to convince other investors to come in. So they want to give them somebody solid, right? So somebody with a track record whose sensibilities work well with the stories. So that could be the genre, somebody like sci-fi or somebody that has told lots of true crime stories or mysteries, somebody that's told futuristic stories or historical stories or contemporary stories. A director that has worked on a lot of fun and colorful films or dark and ominous films, dystopian, high pace or slow burn films. And then you've got a performance style. Do you need a director that has a camera always in motion because that's what the feel of the film is? Or do you need a director that works in dramatic style or musicals? So all of these things come into play. And so Teven has found a director for this film, and we're going to call that Gorge Rukas because maybe they like to work together. So Teven and Gorge need one other key player to make this film, and that's going to be the DP, the cinematographer who helps tell that story visually and responsible for things like lighting and camera movement and lens choice and the visual sometimes feel for the film. And so they're going to go find somebody, again, that matches the sensibilities and they've worked with before probably. In this case, they just hire Vilmos Zsigmond, and that's Vilmos' real name, or it was. He died a few years ago. Anyway, so you've got your team. You've got your creative team. Then you go to your producers, the people that might invest, and you say, look, I've got these people that are interested in making this movie. We just need your money. And most of them go, yeah, I mean, I get it, but I can't really see this film in my head. This idea, your story is Ed and Jean find a box. They go up in the attic, they find a box, they open it up, and something magical happens. I don't see how this plays out. So they're going to go, okay, We need actors to help you visualize that. So they're going to try and lock in the leads. So in this case, they happen to get J-Lo and Tom Cruise. So that's the film, right? You can maybe visualize them fighting over a box in the attic. I don't know. But it helps lock things in. It gives people confidence that moving forward, they like this team, they trust it, they know it will bring a return on the investment. So then the rest of the investors pony up and you're ready to start planning the film. And that part is called pre-production. So you got all the key players, and there are a few things that happen in pre-production. It's the act of making the film, preparing for the film, that is, and that means securing locations and equipment, hiring crew, finalizing the script, working out the budget, and hiring us. Not the leads, but the major supporting roles, and then everybody else. So, pre-production. So, this works great if you're shooting in LA and New York, because you got a lot of actors there, and they're all hungry for work. So you have a casting director for the whole film, the lead casting director based in LA or New York, because that's where your leads are coming from and where most of your major supporting roles are coming from. And I would highly recommend that you pick up a book called The Encyclopedia of Casting Directors. It is out of print, and you can get used copies for like $4 or $5 on Amazon. And it's a really worthwhile resource. And the reason for that is this. Just like the producer wants a director with the right sensibility and a cinematographer with the right sensibility, directors hire casting directors they know that have a pool of talent that fits the feel of the film. So let's say you're making a film about the Jamestown colony in the midst of its famine. So you don't go to the casting director unless they know a whole bunch of emaciated, skinny people, right? You got to expect. They got to know. We got to know where to find these people that look like they've been dragged over rocks for 2 years and probably ate one of their kin. It's just got to be. So that's what that casting director might have a specialty in. Maybe you need a casting director that knows a lot of people that do action or musical performers. So you find a casting director in LA or New York to fill in your lead roles. And in this case, we're going to say it's Debbie Zane, who's a casting director in LA, and she's going to cast those major and supporting roles. But not every project takes place, doesn't shoot in LA or New York. We have a lot of secondary markets called mid and small locals where these things take place. And the Washington Mid-Atlantic area is the third largest local in the country. And we are a mid-sized local. So they need a casting director, a regional casting director that's close to where they're filming, to hire people that they don't have to fly in first class. And in this case, we're going to go with Lisa Mae Fincannon, who is a regional casting director who's based out of Wilmington. I've known her for 30 plus years, and they now have offices in Atlanta, New Orleans, and Dallas. So here's your sort of order of operations. Lisa Mae reports to Debbie Zane. Debbie Zane reports to the director, and that's the chain that goes back and forth. So the director and the casting directors put together what's called a breakdown. And a breakdown is a list of all the roles they need to fill, with us. And they send that breakdown out. Casting sends it to regional casting, and then regional casting sends it to all of the agents. Okay, let's talk for a second. So, can you obtain work without an agent? Yes. Will you have access to the high-profile work that you want without an agent? No. They are the gatekeepers. They are the stamp of approval. Because if an agent feels comfortable submitting you for a feature film, it means that that agent has enough confidence in you that you are not going to embarrass them with your performance, that the casting director might take a look. Open call submissions are a barrage of people submitting, many of whom just have no business doing it. And they just and the good actors that do that, and there are a lot of good actors that submit directly, get lost in all of that noise. It is impossible to wade through a whole bunch of really unsolicited submissions. So the agent is the best pipeline to access that opportunity because they are vetting their talent and making sure that by the time the audition reaches the casting director, it's worth the casting director's time. Important point. So the breakdown goes to the agent, and the agent, for every role, sends back, 5 or 10 names, right? I got 10 actors that could play this role. I got 8 actors that could play this role. So they send all of that back to the regional casting director. The regional casting director looks at that list and says, I know this person maybe, this person looks right. And they return the list back to the agent saying, of the 10 people you submitted, I want to see these 3. Of the 8 people you submitted, I want to see these 2. So here's how it works. That breakdown goes to 100 in the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. One breakdown. For every role that I read for, that breakdown for that role at least went to 100 other agencies. And each of them submitted 5 to 10 names for that role. So 500 to 1,000 submissions, name submissions. And of those, about 300 auditions are requested. So that's how it goes. You will never hear if you were submitted and an audition was not requested. You'll never even know it happened. And why this happens is because casting director has just decided, no, not this time. And it can happen for any number of reasons. You're too far away. I don't know you well enough yet. So you'll just never hear. But the 300 people, right, across the Southeast will get the call and say, hey, I need to see an audition from you. And that's when we do the whole thing that we're going to study in this class. You're going to receive the request, and you need to tell your agent whether or not you're willing to accept it. Before you do, decide if you're willing to take the job if it's offered. Now, you can be like 80% sure. That last 20%, you can decide if they actually offer it. But if the job is in Savannah, Georgia, and they're not going to pay your travel, per diem, or lodging, and you're going to have to go down there on your own dime, you decide at this point whether or not that's worth your time. Because if you book it, and you knew those were the terms, and then you say, I really could use some travel, per diem, or lodging, you're just going to piss them off. Because they told us up front they're not offering that. So look at the terms carefully. Look at the location carefully, and look at the shoot dates carefully. And if you have like a trip to Lisbon planned for 2 weeks in the shoot window, then maybe this isn't the one for you to read for, because if they book you then, and you have to tell them no, you're just going to piss them off. So anyway, you say yes or no, and now your work begins. What you want to do, and I will send this to you in an email. You want to review the submission information thoroughly. Check to see if you need to sign an NDA first. Every Marvel project, every Disney project I've ever read for, before I could ever audition and get the script, I had to sign an NDA saying I wouldn't discuss it with anybody, and I had to get my reader, who was going to be reading with me in the audition, to sign it too, and send both of those things in before they would send me the script. You don't want to get to the point of your audition and needing to record it and then realize, oh shit, I need to do an NDA, because by then, it may be too late to get everything done. So look for the NDA. Start reading the sides, which are your script, and memorizing your lines. Carry the scene around in your imagination throughout the day, and don't lock into any single interpretation of the scene. Stay loosey-goosey. Visualize it. Arrange for a reader to read with you for the audition. You may not just leave a blank where the other character's lines are. Nothing will pull casting out of your scene faster than you acting with nobody. So find someone who will sit next to the camera, or you're going to put your iPad or something next to the camera and have a virtual reader that you're interacting with while you're auditioning. It's a necessity. And when you do that, decide when you're auditioning, schedule it, put it on your calendar, and hold yourself to that time and date, because that's what we do. And if you can, turn the audition in early. And here's the reasoning behind that. I got 300 auditions coming in, and I'm not going to be able to look at them all. I'm casting. No way. Normally, I'm going to look at 30 of those. 10 people that book all the time that I know are going to turn in stellar auditions, 10 people that are local to the production site so I know I don't have to pay them for travel, and 10 people that maybe their agents really, really recommend them or they're really spot on when it comes to type. But I'm not going to be doing that until the due date. So I'm sitting around here, it's due on Monday, and here it is Saturday, and I know I've got this audition, and I've got some spare time. What am I going to do? Well, let's see who's turned one in. That is your opportunity to maybe be seen when you might not otherwise. So if you can turn in an audition earlier than the due date, it is to your advantage. Believe me, this has paid off for me time and time again. So if you can turn in an audition in early, do so. And I'll send you this worksheet, this checklist in your email. So you upload your audition, and there are two primary websites that we use for this. actorsaccess.com and castingnetworks.com. Actors Access is free to set up a profile, and you should do it now. There's no reason to wait. Not going to cost you anything. You go there, you set up your profile. If you have a headshot, upload your headshot. You can fill out your resume and your size card. Just get it done so you have it done. That way, you can start auditioning even. If you decide to directly submit for casting, then you're paying $2 to $3 per submission if you want to do it directly. If you see a project you really love, you want to put your name in the mix for, do it. It can't hurt you. And the more we audition, the better we get at auditioning. Okay? So, Actors Access and Casting Networks lets you set up the profile, but you have to pay a $5 a month membership fee for access to open calls there. Okay? So, you send your tape to your agent. Your agent looks at the auditions, and if your audition is good enough, if you're not going to embarrass the agent is going to pass it on to the casting director. If you get a call that says, darling, because Sylvia Hudson is Irish, she'll go, "Hoo-wee, darling, it looks like maybe you need to go back and maybe re-record that. I think maybe it'd be in both of our best interests if you did." And so you go and you tape it over again, just to make the agent happy, but also to get passed along. So the regional casting director will look at as many of those as they possibly can, but usually that 10% of the total submitted, and send the best ones that they like to the lead casting director, who then narrows it down to, across the Southeast, about 5 actors for the role. 5 actors are on what we call the first shortlist. So the casting director tells the regional casting director who they are. Regional calls out to the agents and says, "I need an availability check." And your agent's going to call you and say, "Look, darling, they're very interested. They put you on the short list, but they need to confirm you're really available for those shoot dates. You don't lie. You absolutely commit at this point. If you say yes, be available." So you say yes or no, and then it goes to another decision-making process. There's another layer to this. So you say, "Yes, I'm available. Okay, darling, I'll let her know." And so it all goes back around, and the main casting director has your availability. And then now, you go about your life. Forget about it. It's done. As far as you know, nothing's happening. Move on. There's nothing worse than sitting there twiddling your thumbs and picking your belly button going, "Did I get it? Did I get it yet? It's only 3 weeks away. I wonder if I should call my agent. Yeah, I should just ask. I should just ask her." Don't ask. If every actor did that, agents would jump off of cliffs, and we don't want them to do that. We need them. And so you just go about your life. It's still you versus 5 to 12 other people, but it was you versus 300, right? So nothing happens. You get anxious, but you just move on. And in the meantime, there's a conversation happening between the director, the producer, and the lead casting director. They're talking about you. And this is great, because if you're on the short list, it means they're looking at your work. Even if you don't book it, they're looking at you and watching you act. And later, casting directors remember good auditions. They remember good ones, and they look for those actors in future calls. Which is why we never ever half-ass an audition. If you cannot do it well, you do not turn it in. You do your best every time, because every time you do an audition is an opportunity to be seen and known by casting and by directors. So always turn in your best work. Okay. They have to figure out if you're right. So they're going to look at a couple of things. Economics. Can I pay for Josh to have Josh come down from Norfolk to Charleston, South Carolina? I'm gonna have to drop $360 in his pocket plus pay for his hotel and his meals. We really don't have it in the budget, so Josh turned in the best audition, but no, we can't do that. And so there it is. You were the best actor in the room, just economics. Oh well. Easier said, but it may be about ensemble, right? About finding someone that might have chemistry or is similar or dissimilar to somebody else. Maybe I want you to play the daughter of the lead, but you just don't quite look quite right. Or maybe you look too much like somebody else. I will tell you this as a bald white man, that there is a lot of... I was once, a director hired me. I shit you not. Let me share this with you. I did a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Scoot McNairy. And the director hired me, got me to set. And I had also auditioned for House of Cards and was booked on House of Cards. And then they cut the scene at the last second. So I show up on set, we shoot the scene with Scoot McNairy, and we're in the middle of it. We've done our wide angle, we've done our 2-shot, we're getting ready to come in for my close-up, and the director goes, "Oh, Keith, come here, sit down. And I sat down, I said, "Yeah?" He goes, "So, what's it like to work on House of Cards?" And I went, "Oh, no, they cut the scene, so I didn't even have a chance." He goes, "No, but this whole season, I've loved your work." And I was like, I've never worked on House of Cards. And I saw that oh shit look in his eyes, that he realized he had messed up, and I tried to cover for it. It's like, "Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay, us bald guys, it's easy to get us confused." And he goes, No, that wasn't it. Okay, let's do your close-up. So I went and did my close-up knowing he meant to cast one of two people. The only other two bald guys were Gerald McRaney, who is 20 years older than I am, or the guy who played Doug Stamper in the show, who's like 20 pounds lighter than I am. There is no way a rational person confuses me with either one of those. But bald guys, I guess, is just the way it... So yeah. And so I had to do that close-up the whole time thinking, he didn't mean to give me this job. So maybe you just look too much like another bald guy in the cast. Anyway. It could be about experience overall with lead actors. If you're new to the profession and I put you in a scene with like an A-list star and you've never done that before or never had like a role with a major player, I may worry that you're going to freak out. In the pandemic, there was very little work because there were no vaccines yet from like October 2020 to March of 21. So they were only hiring those of us that had really done a lot of work because they knew that under that much stress, we would be masking and protocoling and staying separate and then get in front of the camera, take the mask off, do the scene, put the mask back on and go back. And they wanted people that could knock that stuff out that were not going to crack under the pressure. So experience played a larger role in the pandemic. So it could be any kinds of those things, shooting schedule, time efficiency, and also your type and the needs of type, right? If I've hired you to play checker player number 1 in front of the country store in this little town in Kentucky, right? And everybody in this final pool is like, maybe they're missing, maybe one guy's missing an arm. Somebody else, is maybe missing 2 teeth over here. Somebody else has like a clouded left eye. And it's just all about the feel. It just comes down to like, what visual storytelling do I want to tell? And are you going to flesh that out for me? It can also have to do with diversity and homogeneity, right? If I'm doing a period piece and it's Downton Abbey, it's a bunch of stuffy white people who all married one another's uncles for 500 years, right? And if it's Bridgerton, it's a huge diverse cast. So it just has to do with whatever the feel of the show is. All of these things, you just don't know. It's out of your control. But whatever it is, they're going to use those to make the final decision. They're going to confirm your availability again. And at this point, you need to clear your schedule. You need to make sure that your car is tanked up and you start to put your bag together because you're only a few days away at this point. And then 72 hours maybe. But now is when you start to worry. And if you don't hear anything, if you're like 24 hours away from when you're supposed to shoot or show up on set, you can call your agent at that point, especially if you've had your availability checked twice. So that's the process. Over and over and over and over again. In 2021, I auditioned for 50 different projects over the course of the year and booked 5. And that was a great year. A great year. Last year, I auditioned for 50 different projects, major feature film and television, and I booked 1. No idea what that was about. Same actor, doing the same shit, but 1 project. It was a recurring, which was nice, because I got 5 days on the show. But that's how it is. This year, because everybody was anticipating the strike, I've had 4 auditions in total. Yeah. So I'm aching a little bit for some. Oh well, when the strike ends. But anyway, so know that hey boo boo. Mm-hmm. That's the dog. So that's what we're all doing, and the great thing is, we're all doing it together. No one is out there booking everything. It just is a lie. If you get that impression from social media, we're all dealing with rejection time and time again, and occasionally booking something. So you're in great company when you get rejected. Think of it that way. Okay, questions about that? Brittany.
I just have one, just to make sure it's not my internet. Is anybody else like cutting in and out a lot?
No, I'm not.
It's probably my internet.
There you go. Sorry about that. Well, the good thing is the recording should be complete.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
you should be okay. Should be okay.
Very cool.
Okay.
So
I did have one. I'm so sorry. The Amazon book you were mentioning, I didn't catch.
The Encyclopedia of Casting Directors. And every casting director has a different style. And if you understand who the lead casting director is on a project you're auditioning for and what their preferred style is, it helps you target your audition better. Some people want actors that take wild chances, like David Lynch films. Others like actors that are very internal and very small and do things in tight framings. So knowing that can give you an advantage. That's why I recommend it.
Okay. And then one last one. I'm sorry. When you need a reader for something that you have to sign an NDA for, is that something that you need to request, or is it something like you just...
The NDA?
Yeah.
They'll send it to
like,
you.
hey, I'm going to have a reader. Can you...
No. They assume you will have a reader. In fact, they expect you to have one. So in the audition request, the first thing you'll get is the NDA.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
Josh.
2 questions. This first one might be a little stupid.
No such thing.
So when like choosing an agent, right? Like, I guess, should you choose one like you don't really know, right? Because are they going to believe in you? That's the whole thing I'm trying to like figure out. Like,
Gotcha.
you're paying somebody, can you trust this person? You know what I mean? Do you, like, I guess it comes with meetings, multiple meetings, I guess. Like,
you may never
which
meet
one?
your agent. You may never meet your agent. I mean, it may be a completely virtual relationship. So this is a fantastic question. It's not stupid at all. So we have a job when we first of all, when looking for an agent, you must ask that agent what casting directors they have good relationships with. Because their familiarity with casting directors equals opportunity for you. If they can go to bat with certain casting directors, they feel they can casually call up and say, hey, did you see that concert the other night? It was a great concert, wasn't it? Then you know that they'll feel comfortable every once in a while, on rare occasions, when the timing is right and the role is right, calling up and saying, hey, look, did you happen to look at Josh's read for this? Because I really think he'd be great. So you want someone that has good relationships with casting directors in the region where you're auditioning. Then it is our job to educate our agent in our skill and also our type. When people look at us, the first 2 years that you have an agent, they're basically just throwing shit at a wall, hoping something will stick. I don't know how casting is going to use you, so I'm going to submit you for this and this and this and this and this. And they're watching to see where casting really responds to you. I can't play a cop to save my life. It doesn't work because this face doesn't intimidate. This face does doctors well and psychiatrists well and investigators well, but beat cop, no. So bald looks like a beat cop. A little bit chubby looks like a beat cop. But put me in the mix, casting directors don't respond because I just don't have that, whatever that thing is, right? So that's the first 2 years is they're trying to figure out like where to target you best so that they can just submit you strategically. We can help them by providing them with examples of the way other people use us. So they're submitting us for stuff, but if you audition freelance for projects and get cast, provide that footage to the agent so that they can see, oh, look at this. I never thought that you would be able to play a parent. I never really saw you that way, but you really, they cast you as that and you did a really nice job. New way to think of you. And that's the way the process works. It is an educating job that we undertake by providing the agent with materials they need to better understand us so that they then can educate casting. Belief in you, overrated. Belief in you comes from experience. You show up and you do the job over and over again. Great. You don't cause unnecessarily trouble on set. Fantastic. You turn in auditions on time. You don't ask for extensions, and you know your way around set. And you're genuinely curious about the way the contracts work. And once you learn it, you don't ask the same questions over and over again. That's how you develop trust with an agent and belief from an agent. Is you do the job well. You show up. You have no idea how many new talent sign with an agent. The agent calls them and says, look, I got you a booking. You don't have to do anything. You just have to show up. You'll make $150 for the day. It's a half day from 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock. Just show up here in the middle of Hampton on this day at this time. Okay, great. Congratulations. You booked your first job. And they don't show up. What happened? Oh, I had to run to the store for our mattress blew out, so I had to go get another mattress. You will never hear from that agent again. Ever, and you don't deserve to, because that is the job, showing up. And I was an agent for 4 years, and that's the kind of stuff that really irks you. Like you go out on a limb for somebody, and they say they want to be an actor, and then it's like, no, a mattress. It feels a little specific because it is. Anyway, it's a great question. It's a great question, Josh. What was your other one?
Last one.
Mm-hmm.
So you listed Actors Access and you listed casting networks.
Yes.
Why not Backstage?
Backstage's jobs generally center on the northern Atlantic coast, so Philadelphia, New York, New England. They don't have as many opportunities for Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. And the jobs that it has for those regions are non-union jobs. They generally don't pay well, though they may provide some demo reel material. So I don't disagree with that, but I just think that Backstage's price is not worth it for the opportunity you obtain there. So that's why. My 2 cents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. There is one other thing to keep in mind. Virginia sits at the cusp of union states and what are called right-to-work states. Everything south of D.C. is a right-to-work world. And that means you don't have to be a union member ever to audition for and book a union job in a film, which is great. You never have to join until you then do your next job in a union state. However, there are virtually no agents for the D.C.-Baltimore area. The majority of the work obtained there is obtained direct from casting. And so there's an entirely different system. So I would suggest right now where you are in your career, focus on obtaining opportunity Virginia South, because DC can be fairly frustrating because it's a union town, and a lot of that is specifically for union actors. So just a strategy, all about the strategies. Okay. I don't talk this much in the rest of the classes. The rest of the classes are about you guys. So I'm sorry. Okay, so let's look at your slates.
Hi.
So let's look at Naya's first. Here we go.
Hi. My name is Naya Gore. I'm 5'7", and I'm from Newport News, Virginia.
Excellent. Very good. Okay, good. So you were looking at me this whole time. I didn't have her on screen, did I?
Mm-mm.
If I do that, tell me.
I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see it.
That's all right.
The live reaction was worth it. I saw
Okay.
everything I needed.
I gave myself away. Here we go. One more time.
Hi. My name is Naya Gore. I'm 5'7", and I'm from Newport News, Virginia.
Excellent. Very good. So, so here's what I'll say. So what lighting source are you using, Naya?
I'm using a light behind me, just like a lamp.
Let me look at you. Okay, so you're using a lamp, and where is it in reference to you? Right in front of you?
Right here, right beside me, right in front.
Hang on. Okay, one more time. Show me. Point to it.
It's right here.
Okay, right there.
So
Excellent.
it's to my right. It's to my right, right in front.
Excellent. Is it a little bit in front of your camera?
In front of the camera? No, it's to the side of the camera.
So like literally to the side, or is the camera a little bit behind it or in front of it?
Yeah, the camera's a little bit behind it.
Okay. So what's happening is you're getting a little bit of bleed from that lamp onto the lens, and it's making it look cloudy.
Okay.
So if you notice in that, there's it's like a little strange
yeah,
haze.
like a little bit yellow.
Yeah. So that's all that is. So make sure that your camera is in front of the light, and you won't get that. Easy fix. The other thing is, in the assignment, and this goes for everybody, you want to be very careful about framing requests. So what you've got here, you used your phone, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things I would make sure to do is to make sure that your phone, which right now is a little bit below eye level, is at eye level. It looks like it's a little bit below your eyes, yes?
Yes.
So the reason for that is two things. One is because looking up like this is just not always the best angle for us, any of us. And the other thing is that right now it also looks like it's fairly close to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So these phones, as wonderful as their cameras are, when we get them in close, they fisheye. They distort us. We kind of look a little like, we're like in a bowl a little bit. So the better choice is to move the phone away from us at about 4 feet and then zoom in slightly. It takes using sometimes another person to sit in the chair where we're going to be to do that. Okay. But that gives us a better framing without distortion. Okay? Your delivery is fine. It's nice and it's warm and it's great. What I'll say...
Okay. Just the lighting and setting up. That's really what I need to work on.
Yeah. One of the other things I'd say too is so I don't know how much space you have in this room, but I will say a couple of things. So your wall is white, yes, and your shirt is black, and the camera.
It's actually not white. It's just the lighting.
Okay, good.
Like a lighter. It's like a bluish gray.
So then the reason it looks white is because of the black shirt, and the camera is auto-adjusting its exposure to be able to see the texture in the shirt. If you wore a more neutral color, then the background would not be quite as blown out. So I would suggest finding a neutral color in a blue or a brown or a gray, something, mid-tone. Okay. And then let's see, camera height, frame, and the other thing is the framing. So ideally for everybody, it looks as though, did you shoot it with your camera like this or like this?
Like this. What is that?
Like this?
Vertical. Yes.
Okay, good. Going forward, shoot it like that.
Shoot it horizontal?
Sure, shoot it horizontal because that best mimics the shape of a television screen or a movie screen. Okay. But the delivery was nice, and it was nice and warm, and it was not formal. It was just sort of like, hey, it's me. Here I am. Here's what it is. Nobody gets booked or not booked based on their slate. But it is the first impression that we get. And so the more sort of relaxed we are and just us, the better. It just makes things easier. The other thing we're doing is generally we're stating some vital information in the slate. So if we say, hi, I'm Keith Flippin, and I'm based in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And later I say, well, I've got to drive all the way down from D.C., so I'm going to need mileage for that. They're going to go, you said you were from Fredericksburg, so that's what we're using. So it's just a little bit of a hold you to it kind of stuff. So that was nice. Those are the adjustments I would make. Mid-tone colored shirt. If you can move the chair and yourself a little bit farther away from the wall, we won't end up with quite as harsh a shadow. Or is the lamp a bare bulb, or does it have a lampshade on it?
It's bare right now. It does have a shade on it.
I would try the shade if it's not too dark a shade. What I do is this. I have a pair of, so what I do is my travel kit is a pair of clip lights. You go to Home Depot and they got like salad bowls with clips on them. You put a bulb in and they're like $8 a piece. And that's my travel kit. And then what I do is I tape a piece of parchment paper I get from the grocery store over the bulb. And that way it's not quite so harsh and it diffuses it. And it's just a little bit more attractive light. It makes shadows a little less harsh is all. So you could get some of that parchment paper and lay that over the bulb. Just like lay a sheet over the bulb like that. And it would diffuse that light and make it not quite so harsh. And, and it's a cheap fix, which is name of the game, I think. Nice work. Thank you, Naya.
Oh, I did have one question though.
Please.
Because me looking at the video, it didn't look like that. So how do I get that, like the exposure to not change when I'm like sending it to like different, like uploading it somewhere?
Gotcha.
Like from looking at it to sending it and how you showed it on the screen, it looks different.
And it looks different because the exposure is brighter? Or
no, I'm saying when I looked at it on my phone, it wasn't as exposed like that. It looked a little bit clearer to me than when you showed it.
Gotcha.
So it just looked different.
I think I think that...
Is that like uploading it to different formats? Would it look different?
It should not. It should not appreciably change anything. Yeah. What I would do is I think it has to do with in-camera adjustments to make sense of the visual environment. So I think it has to do with, well, yeah, tell you what, next week, put on a mid-tone shirt and let's see if it does the same thing. And if not, we'll tweak it again. So,
got it.
Sound fair?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Naya. And the other thing, I will say this, tattoos and body jewelry are fine. However, depending on the role, obviously, and you weren't reading for a role, so you had no reason to adjust anything, so I get it. Don't worry about it. This is just us being us. But depending on the role, it's often a useful thing to be able to, take out the septum. Is it septum ring?
Yeah, septum, and I can flip it up.
Super, yeah. So those kinds of things. Tattoos, I have one on my arm. I can't wear short sleeve shirts for auditions. I'll just wear a mid sleeve shirt. So just sometimes those kinds of things, depending on the role, just being aware of those things for all of us. I generally advise if anybody has tattoos below the elbow that you invest in a form of makeup called dermaplast and find it in your skin tone so that should you have to audition and you don't want those visible, but you have to wear a short sleeve shirt, you can lightly cover that up Dermaplast just kind of covers it over, and then you powder it, and then it would be virtually invisible. Dermaplast is a makeup that is used for burn patients and to cover over, it's used by makeup artists to cover over tattoos. So it's just a useful thing to have in a kit if you find that, excuse me, you might need it. That's it.
Okay. And you covered tattoos and piercings. What about colored hair for tape?
You know what? Your hair is your hair, and if you have a role that you're reading for that feels like, here's what I'll do. No one is going to put me in a toupee. It's just not going to happen. And in 35 years, I've only had one show put me in a wig, and I worked that show for 2.5 months, so it was kind of worth it for them to do so. But the majority of the time for us, they're going to cast us as we are. So the hair that we present in the audition, exclusive of color, because color is easily changed, but style is basically who they want to hire. So we try to present in the audition the hair that we think they probably would like in the role. So right now, the red tint in your hair, I wouldn't sweat it, as long as the hair pulled back is appropriate for the role. Because that can always be, color can always be changed with a temporary dye in the makeup room.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry about that. Good question. Okay, let's look at another. All right, here is Stevens. Let me see if I can.
Is it?
There we go. Yes, there we go. I had to zoom in. There we go. Here we go.
Stephen Rogers, 5'8", Norfolk, Virginia.
Good. Nice framing. That's the appropriate framing. I think the foreground background is close enough in tone that we're not getting any sort of negative effect. Is the light relatively close to being overhead?
It's probably about. I had it situated like 3/4 coming down.
I'd move it out a little farther in front of you. We're still getting some shadow up here in the eye socket there.
I have stupid hot, like the brow ridge right here is really hard to fight those.
Well,
I can try.
We're also getting it sort of down here. If you move the light a little closer to maybe 6 inches above eye line, that would probably work better. If you can.
I'll give it a shot next time.
Do your best. The other thing too is I wonder if again, I'm going to say this, a mid-tone shirt for you might not be more beneficial, because right now overall there's a sort of a flatness to the shot that I think you would stand out more in a performance if this were an audition, if you had a shirt that was not in the gray to white range. It would draw my attention more to your face. Here, I if it weren't for the glasses and the eyes, I wouldn't have a powerful focal point. But I think if this were a different color, I would. So try it. I think maybe also I think just a little more color would be good. Small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I only own mid-tone shirts.
So no, that's perfect. What do you have a color other than white or gray?
I have a pink shirt that has tiki drinks on it.
So for the purposes of our class, you're fine the way you are. But
Okay.
but come time to audition, I think this is going to sound ridiculous, but I think every actor should have a blue shirt, just because it's
Zesty.
well, that, and it's relatively neutral, and again, it kind of draws the eye up to the face, just for what it's worth. The other thing with the read,
Stephen Rogers, 5'8", Norfolk, Virginia.
good. It's the information. It's nice and direct. You might lead with I'm Stephen Rogers, just because it feels more like an introduction that way, without being too. It just feels, it warms it up just a hair. Not that we're responsible for that, but,
First impression.
Yeah, exactly. First time I get to meet you. There it is. Okay, nice work, though. Good. Well done. Josh. All right, little blue squiggle on Josh's upper lip. What's going on here?
Is he tracking your mouse?
There we go.
Josh Williams, 5'11", Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Good. I think that works. I think, Josh, I think your lighting's in a good location. I think it's far enough away from you. I think that background that's a white wall. Yes, Josh?
Yeah, it's about an off-white.
Okay.
It's a little weird.
So I'm a big fan of, and a lot of casting directors are as well, of again, neutral colored walls. So if you have a sheet, a blanket, that would, so what I do when I travel with my kit, with my clip lamps, is I have a piece of felt. I just went and bought like $10 worth of felt at like Joann Fabrics. And I have a blue and I have a copper colored, and I get these contact Velcro strips that you can attach and remove easily. They don't mar anything. And what I do in the hotel is I'll put those on the wall and I'll just stick the felt to that. It sticks itself, and I've got a quick and easy backdrop that is just behind my head, so it's not massive, but it's just enough to sort of help bring, make the foreground the brightest thing, which is really kind of what we want in an audition. We want the background to be less bright than the foreground. We are in the foreground. So a little bit of a darker color behind you, and this would go for Steven as well, and even Naya if possible, although we'll look at Naya's when Naya's got a different color shirt on, would probably be useful. Not a necessity, but would be useful. Otherwise, I think this was nice. It was nice direct to camera. You said the stuff. I would just warm it up a little bit. I would, this feels a little, I don't know, hard.
A little too much.
Yeah, just a little hard. And I've talked to you enough. I know.
My bad.
So, no. Look, it feels very like a formality, right? Like, here's the information, just going to give you the information. But I don't think it hurts just warm it up just a little bit. It doesn't mean you have to go, hi, I'm Keith. You don't want to do that. You don't oversell. So just a little bit like, hey, how you doing? I'm Keith, and Keith Flippin, 5'10", and I'm from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and then it's done. But otherwise, well done. Well done. Yeah, good stuff. Notice how I'm not pushing for specific changes, but let me be clear. For the purposes of our class, everybody is fine where they are because I want to focus on the acting technique. But when you start auditioning, here's what I would have. I would have a mid-tone, like blue, a background of some kind, or green background of some kind, just so that it's flat and is of a lower brightness than your foreground. And I would have the lighting and the camera roughly at eye level, so that it's facing you right on. Those are the three core things that everyone should have once you actually start auditioning, because frequently there's a shorthand of like, yeah, that's not, no, people will say, and they are probably inaccurate much of the time, I can tell by the look of that, I don't want to watch it. So to eliminate that, the basics are background with a little bit of a color tint to it, but nothing too bright or too dark, mid-tone, and then decent lighting from two sides of you, ideally, or one closer to the light, or like a ring light, and then the camera at eye level. Those are the three major points, and we'll talk about microphone later. All right. Lauren.
Hi, I'm Lauren Seymour. I am 5'5", and I am based out of Hampton, Virginia.
Good. See, I like that. I think you could have started with that. That's fine. So what am I going to say, Lauren?
There needs to be horizontal instead of vertical.
Very good. Yes.
The lighting. I'm using two different lights. Both of them are, one is like a little desk lamp
Uh-huh.
from Pixar, that type of lamp.
Gotcha.
And, and I have one without a shade on it that's behind the camera. And I use the one that's like the Pixar with the little shade on it just to try to take away some of the shadowing.
Nice.
But as the room gets darker, I'm seeing more shadows.
Well, so what I'll say, I think your lighting actually works fairly well.
Okay.
I think it's far enough away that it's not harsh on your face, and not so bright that it is. And you know, there's a little bit of separation between you and the wall. And yeah, I see that shadow, but it's not distracting me. So I think your lighting's okay, and I think your camera height's okay. But yeah, I would turn the camera horizontal, and I would warm up and relax the delivery a little bit.
Okay.
But nice. And the gray against the green, that works. That's mid-tone, and so nothing is like blown out or needs to be heavily exposed. Nice.
So when you say warm up, because I do the tape like 30 times, so I know you said it's gonna be the hardest part.
So what I would say is, what happened was it felt careful. It felt, do you know what I mean? It felt like I am this, and I have this, and I am this. And then the smile came, and I think you would just kind of talk to a friend, or talk to someone that you want to meet. Put them in the camera. Hi, I'm Keith Flippin. I'm 5'10", and I'm based in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And just lay it right there. Okay. Easy fix. Easy fix. Very good. And one more. Brittany.
Hi, I'm Brittany Scalf. I'm 5'2", and I'm based out of Portsmouth, Virginia.
Good. I think what color is the background, Brittany?
Basically the same color as my skin. I can't really tell where my skin stops and the wall begins. But I'm thinking of painting it, so I'm glad you mentioned like a bluish color, because I'm going to paint it.
If you do that, then get paint in an eggshell finish. That way you don't get any glare. It's not quite flat. It has a little bit of sheen to it, but eggshell doesn't reflect badly.
Okay.
That would be good. That would be good. I think the other thing too is what is this room like that you're in?
I'm sorry?
What is the room like that you're in? You have hardwood floors?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a rug anywhere in the room?
The one that I'm standing on, yeah.
Okay. Is there a flat wall in front of you about 8 feet away, 10 feet away?
So it's not completely flat. I call it a gingerbread house, but it's the upstairs bedrooms have like a arch, like a bit above my head.
Okay.
So I was wondering if maybe the paint would kind of help that be less noticeable.
Oh, I can't tell visually.
Okay.
I mean, this is a beautiful.
But I'm short too, so that probably helps.
No, visually, this is perfect apart from the wall color, which I think will, that would be a good change. It's the sound. There's a lot of bounce in the room, a lot of echo.
Okay.
So it could be, you could do either put a couple of blankets on the floor to either side of you to cover more of the hardwood floor, because you're probably getting flutter up and down from the floor and the ceiling.
And it is a storeroom, so there isn't a lot in there, but I do have a bunch of egg crate that I'm not using. Okay. So I can probably throw those up.
That would also work. Yeah, that would also work. Anything to take some of the flutter out of the room would be good. But otherwise, the delivery was nice. That was good.
Was it too short?
Nope.
Because I have a habit of every time I do anything, it's slow down, Brittany, slow down.
Seriously, the speed of it right now is fine. It was neither too fast nor too slow, and if I were trying to get through a bunch of these quickly, I would be grateful.
Okay.
I didn't hear it and go, hope she doesn't talk that fast in her audition. So I think you're good. You're good.
Okay.
When it comes to the read, we'll see. Fair?
Right.
Okay, very good. So when you go into your next audition, I'm going to ask you for another slate. And that one will have different information, I'm requesting, so please make sure you read the instructions. Every time we get an audition, 2 or 3 things are different. One is the file naming protocol. When you send me a video audition, I want you to name it actor last name _ actor first name _ role, or I want you to name it all capitals role _ first name _ last name dot whatever. So watch that. And the other thing is, yes, what I'm asking for in the slate, same casting director, even audition to audition can change. So always read those 2 things carefully and make sure you give them what they're asking for, no more, no less. Okay, so let's talk about, we got a lot to squeeze into tonight, so I'm going to jump into resumes real quick. For those of you that may not have one yet, I wanted to share with you a resume format. I sent that to you in the second email of materials tonight. I want to run through that real quick. So here it is. The most important thing on your resume is at the top, and that's your name, and it should be the largest thing on there. Not giant hulking name, but a good, a good size, bigger than anything else. On the left-hand side below that is your contact information or your agent's contact information. Never, ever put your home address on your resume. Never, ever put a landline if you still have one on your resume. People will be able to track that stuff down. Don't do that. Put disposable information. If you do not have one yet, solely for your acting work, get an email address that's all you use it for. If you're in production as well as acting, as well as other things, have one only for acting. Do not use it when you subscribe to Twizzly.com to see if they've got deals on whatever it is you're interested in. It'll just get filled with crap. Only for your acting, only for your acting, only for your acting. That way you can go back 20 years from now and say, oh, look, there's my very first gig. Uh-oh, Steven's having audio issues. So yes, so get an email address that's just for your acting. And then on the right-hand side, we still do description. Height, weight, hair color, eye color. I don't know why. They still want it. So, okay. This is a film and television resume. The very first thing is your film and television credits. 3 columns. Use your tab button to ensure that they are in line. The first is the name of the project. The second is the capacity in which you were hired to perform. And the third is the production company or the network. And that's why Stephen is probably a fantastic addition to this class.
Nice. I agree.
I thought I timed that well. Just when the headphones go on. We've been talking about him this whole time. So anyway, I'm glad you got it fixed. We're just talking about resume right now. Most important thing at the top is name, contact information, agent contact information, description, and then the 3 columns of film television are the name of the project, the capacity in which you perform, and the production company or network. When it comes to capacity, let's be clear about this. The lead, you are the main character in the film. That's it. You know when you're the lead because it's all about you. A supporting role is any role without which the lead's journey could not happen. You are the janitor that takes the lead aside and always gives him life advice. And at the end, you're the proud janitor friend sitting in the audience applauding the lead character as he goes to the moon. Whatever. Don't watch that film. I don't think it would be very good. So that's a supporting role. They don't have to be large, but they have to be significant. And anything less than that is a principal role in a film. These are all film right here. This whole film. Any role that is speaking that is not supporting or lead is a principal, PAL role. If you do not speak, but I can clearly see your face in like a close-up shot, like I'm at the ball game and someone hits a home run and I cut away to you and there you are and you're going, whatever that is. Right, exactly. You are a featured background. You are a featured actor. Featured. Because I can see your face clearly. It is though you have a life that I'm getting a little window into. However, If you are one of 50 people having dinner at the restaurant where the fight happens and the lead happens to walk by you and I catch a glimpse of you, no, that is simply background. And we can talk another time about whether or not to list background work on your acting resume. I think at first, a couple of them are fine. The moment you have something to replace them with, remove them. Because we want them to believe and understand that you aspire to greater than background work. Okay? For television, a little bit different. You have a starring role if you are one of the series' regular leads. If you're on the show for one episode or a couple episodes in the season, but you were not the lead character, but you have a plot line that kind of overlaps with the lead characters, on House, you're the person that comes in with a strange pain in his side and they send you home with some antibiotics and you show up later and it turns out you have a pigeon in your belly. You're the guest star that episode. You're the medical mystery. You have pigeon belly disease. And then anything less than that, you're a co-star on the show. So that's basically how that works. We don't want the name of the character there because I can't tell anything from the name of a character. You could be Mr. Robinson, but you could have been background at the hip hop, doing this dance over in the corner and I don't know, whatever. And you just gave yourself a name. I wouldn't know. So capacity. Theater, a little bit different, comes second. The name of the production, the name of the character, because there are fewer plays than there are television shows, and then the theater. So I had some fun with this. So things like Very Old Cheese, a featured role in that by Waxy Wheel Productions. Please entertain yourself with my bad creativity here. Then commercials. This is very important. So when we work, I want you to get this into your head, please. Never work for free. Ever. Ever. I don't care if it's for a friend. I don't care if it's for, 48-hour film project being the exception because nobody can be paid. But if you do a friend's film, never work for free. Insist on $1. $1. But be paid. And the reason for that is simple. And it is because it is easier mentally to make the shift from being paid $1 to being paid $100 than it is to go from not being paid to expecting to be paid. Start off with the expectation that you have now paid for my classes and you're investing in yourself and you are professional enough to do so that you should be compensated, even if it's symbolic. Even if you want to do this for free, make someone give you $1. Because that is what professionals do. They get paid. Period. End of story. Okay? When we work, we get two different fees. We get session fees, which is what we get paid for the day to do a job. And then we get usage fees. And for feature film and television, those are residuals. So as a show moves from medium to medium and is viewed by different people on different platforms, we get a cut of that. We get some compensation for that. And when it comes to commercials are particularly, it's very important to make sure that you are not getting a flat fee for a commercial because it doesn't work that way. Never agree to a buyout in perpetuity because that means for the money they're paying you, they can use this anywhere and everywhere for as long as they want. And you don't do that. And the reason is this. The first column is the name of the product under commercials. The second is the market where it airs. And the third is the advertising agency. And the fourth, and this is the big important one, is your release date. So if you do a commercial for Hall Honda there in Virginia Beach, all right, you got $400 and you sign away, here, you can, yeah, absolutely, I want the money, here's $400, use me in that commercial, I need that credit. And the next, 6 months later, you get an audition for a national Toyota spot. National Toyota spot that would pay you really well. You can't take it because your image is already being used and your performance is already being used to sell a competing product in one of the markets where that spot would air. Toyota is going to look at that conflict and go, I can't use them. They're selling Hondas in Virginia Beach. Sorry, moving on. You need to know, as an actor whose image is being used to sell a product, at what time that image will no longer be associated with that product so that you can confidently take work for competing products. Now, if it's Hall Honda in Virginia Beach, but it's a Toyota spot in Hawaii, you're fine because the markets don't overlap. But National contains Virginia Beach, so you wouldn't be able to. Does that make sense? So it is typical that commercials have what are called cycles, 13-week cycles, 1 quarter of a year, and that we are paid in quarterly payments for the renewal of those spots. So ideally, you get paid $350 for your television commercial in Hampton Roads that will air on Channel 13 because it's broadcast. And 13 weeks after that, if the client wants to keep using it, they pay you the $350 all over again. And if they want to use it another quarter, they pay you another $350. And if you don't have an agent that understands that, get a better agent. And agents are only as good as the way they treat you and look out for you. And we're always graduating to better agents, ideally, if our careers progress. Because at some point, they can no longer serve us well. Anyway, so advertising especially, look out for your usage and make sure that you are protected in that manner. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't have to be a jerk about it and stand up for yourself and say, I don't, but ask the questions and don't back down. Why is this way? Why is it one flat fee for 2 years and that fee feels really low? If you're going to use me for 2 years, this should be like $3,000 or $4,000, don't you think? Because it's going to be all over this place. I won't be able to do this for competing products if they come up. Use the logic of what we just talked about to make the case with your agent. Your agent may say, well, if you don't want to do it, then don't audition. And your answer is up to you. Because I'm not going to sit here and judge you if you take a job that pays $400 for a year. I'm not. Because everybody starts off needing credits and needing work. I did shit for $75 I will never admit to. But that's just how it is. That's how we start, right? We say, we will do things for candidates or whatever that we hope will never see the light of day. But at some point, know that it's worth protecting that. And you'll know when that is because people want you. Okay, anyway. Below that, you've got training and experience. So you can put down this class right now as currently studying with the Actors Place audition technique. You can put that on your resume right now if you wanted. And when you're done, you can put the date because you will have finished it. And then special skills. And these are things that you can do and do relatively well. If you want to say that you play football, make sure you can play at a competitive, say, high school level. Because if you say you can play football and I cast you to be on a team, I don't need you asking me what the rules are. I want you to just be able to get in there and play on the team, right? So don't BS. If you play guitar, be able to do it. If you say you speak a language, be able to do it. Very brief story. I once was cast, I auditioned for the role of a British general, and they asked me if I could ride horseback, and I had done some trail riding, so I said yes. Absolutely, I can. And so I got the job. And so I went to Pungo. And for 3 weeks, I studied English saddle horseback riding because I knew I was a British officer, had to be able to ride a horse. Went and did that. Got to set the day I was shooting, and they put me on a Western saddle horse, which is a whole different style of riding. And the two biggest differences are, if you want to stop a horse riding English saddle, you squeeze your legs. If you want to make a horse go faster, Western saddle, you squeeze your legs. And so they had me coming down from the top of a hill down toward the camera with my 2 other officers behind me on horseback, behind them a fife and drum corps, behind them 24 troops, and behind them 2 cannons. And we had to come down toward the camera and split around the camera. And so we start going down the hill and the horse is going too fast. So what do I do instinctively? Squeeze my legs. What did the horse do? Starts racing toward the camera. So they only did like one take of this. And if you watch that film to this day, you just see me going, oh God, and we just barely make it around the camera. So be careful about what you claim you can do and try to be honest about it. And frequently, some of this stuff is things people will ask you about. If you're the Wisconsin Chowder Champion of 2019, expect that someone's going to say, what is a chowder champion? And it gives you a chance to tell a story. And you want to have a couple of good stories because stories are how people remember us and come to like us. So look at your life as source material and share some things that are lively and interesting and tell me something about you through what you've done. Okay? Anyway, so that's the resume. You've got the format. I will send you a Word document of this so you can replace, you don't have to like form it all out. You can just replace my stuff with your stuff and put a resume together. I'd like to see you do that for next week. Okay? Or take 2 weeks. I'll ask you for it in 2 weeks. Okay? Okay, so the last thing I want to cover tonight is where to start this acting thing. So a script gives you some information. When you get an audition script, you want to look at the basics, right? The what, where, why, how, and who. The first thing you want to do when you get a script is you want to read all the way through it. Don't look at your role or where's my line, what am I doing? No. Read all the way through it like it's a story. We dream cinematically. We've watched so many movies and TV shows. When we dream, it's like a movie in our heads. We do it all the time. So as you read a script, visualize it like a movie in your head. How the camera might move, what you might be doing, what's in the environment. Our job in an audition is to do that and extract as much information about what we're seeing, where we are, who we're talking to, what they're like, how we may be feeling about them, to pull all of that information out of the script. And our responsibility with the dialogue to start is that we just say the line believably given the circumstances that we're in. So, your line is, come here. Let me hear you say it. Naya?
I'm sorry.
Say your line. Come here.
Come here.
Go around the circle.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said go around the circle?
Yeah, go around the circle. Sorry.
What do you mean? Sorry.
No, we're just going to go. Everybody say the line.
Okay. Come here.
Good. Thank you.
Come here.
Thank you. I'll do it this way. Here we go.
Here.
Stephen?
Come here.
Good. Josh?
Come here.
Excellent. Very good. How great. You have no idea how to say that line. I haven't told you what's happening, right? You don't know why you're saying it, right? So you can't make a choice right now. It's just words. Lines are what fall out of our mouth while we're busy feeling something. That's what dialogue is. So, Naya, the kid that is there sitting at let's say it's your kid, all right? Your kid has been, while you were having dinner at a nice restaurant, your kid stepped away and started playing with another table's baby. And you look over and the family doesn't know what to do and you need your kid to come back to you. How do you say it? To your kid.
Come here.
Very good. Let's say that your child is always sort of slipping away and doing these things, and your kid is always getting into trouble. How does it come out then?
Come here.
Good. There we go. You didn't think about how am I going to say this? Come here. None of that. You just sort of felt yourself in those circumstances, right? That simple. Lauren.
Yes.
So, you have gone to are you married?
Engaged.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank
So let's say you're at your fiance's home, or your fiance is at your home, either way, and that song comes on, you know, y'all's song, and you're standing on opposite sides of the room, but you want to be on the same side of the room. So you look at your fiance and you say,
Come here.
ooh, nice. Good. There you go. That's it. That's it. There's no thinking about the line. There's no processing mentally what you're going to say. The circumstances put you in that frame, right? That's all it is. Okay. Brittany, I can't believe I have to come up with 3 more of these. Let's see. Your dog is looking at you from across the room, and at your dog's feet is what's left of your pillow. And your dog is happy, 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 happy because your dog found a pillow to pull apart and couldn't be happier. But you need that dog to learn that they can't do that.
Come here.
Ooh. And also your dog's face is covered in feathers.
Yeah.
One more time.
It's not too far off. Not too far off from what I experienced with my pet.
Good. So it's covered. Dog's covered in feathers, and you can't help but, you know, this dog, this goofball. One more time. Once more.
Come here.
Okay. Good. Stephen.
Hello.
So, your boss, who always doubts when you say that Jeffrey is an idiot who works on the factory floor. Jeffrey, who always gets things wrong and ruins things at the company, puts machines in reverse and tears up, you know, product and all this sort of stuff, just doesn't believe you, just thinks that it's anything but Jeffrey. And now you're looking down through the window and there's Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is wrecking things. And so you need your boss to check it out.
Okay, that would be, come here.
There we go. Very good. Very good. Give it to me again. And here's another concept I'd like to share with you. Subtext. Subtext is sort of what we're really trying to say while we say something, right? So the text is, I love you means I love you, right? That's what in the text is what it means. But if I say, I love you, I'm not really saying I love you, am I? I'm saying something else. So when you say come here, I'd like you to say come here, but the subtext is you are not going to believe this shit.
Come here.
Nice. There we go. So, simple concept. There we go. And Josh, let me see if I can pull one more out of my backside. Your nephew has found a pony. No, that doesn't work. I don't know. Has found a muddy pond full of frogs and has collected 5 or 6 of them in his shirt and wants to take them home and is looking at you like, please, please, Josh, please, Uncle Josh, can I please take him home? And you just got to get the jacket off and the shoes off and put a towel down in the car and take that nephew home. But first you need to get him close enough to you to grab him and do it.
Come over here. Take off the jacket.
All you have is come here. Good. Don't do it here. Look at your nephew in your head, in your mind's eye. Shirt full of frogs, covered in mud, really wants to take him home. You love your nephew. He's just fallen in love with frogs. He didn't do anything really wrong. It's just a mess, but you need to get him home.
Come here.
There we go. It's that simple, right? Good. So it's not intellectual work. How am I going to say this? And defining a choice. Visualize the circumstances, put yourself within them, and see how it comes out. So, obviously, how each of us visualizes a set of circumstances is different, which is what makes each of our performances different. How we would say it, different. And even how you and I see a scene, we might have 2 or 3 different ways we see it. So your homework for tonight is to do one of the 3 scenes I sent you. Let's look at them real quick. The first is the reference librarian. Now, the scene does not start at your line. That's it, cleaned us out, find what you're looking for. No. The scene starts all the way up here. It includes all of this action right here. So don't jump in and start your scene at the line. All of this up here is part of it. It's what leads to you saying your line. This is what we call preceding action. Everything, in fact, that happens before this, that's not even in this script, what we assume has been happening is preceding action. It's everything that leads up to our line. How long have these kids been here? How long have you been helping them? What have they asked for? Where have you had to go that you've finally arrived with this load that you're adding to the pile? And the scene ends not after your line. It ends all the way after Fitz says thanks. And do you see anything after thanks that is not that above this line right here? See anything after thanks? Stephen?
There's a little bit under that line, I guess.
Well, there's the he starts diving into fresh ones, discarding them one by one. And I think that's a really good note. So what happens is frequently they're going to include all of this other information just for our reference. We don't have to act this, but it does tell you what happens after your scene finishes. See, you have to get out of here. You have someplace to go. You've finished your business after Fitz says thanks. That is the actual ending of the scene. How do you get out of there? It can't be like Fitz says thanks and the audition ends this way. Right? Something's got to happen. So what happens next is what we call following action. Where are you going? What do you got to go do next? So the whole scene is you coming into it, delivering your line, getting the reaction, seeing what they're doing, seeing what they've done, getting the thank you, and then leaving. And anything less than that is incomplete. And all of that happens in your imagination because only part of it is included here. So the more detail you can include in what you see, the better. So use your imaginations. This is a simple first audition. I got 2 other scenes to share with you. We're probably going to go about 10 minutes over. I apologize. So you can do this one. You may do... You may do the desk clerk. Here's the desk clerk. This is a little harder because the scene actually starts right here. Nothing up here relates to you. Nothing down here relates to you. The desk clerk is staring at the computer. Interior, Marriott Hotel. Later, desk clerk, that's you, is staring at the computer. Desk clerk says, okay, and you have 3 guests and 2 rooms for 1 week. Then JB says this, then Ash says that. Then you type something, and JB looks at Ash, who plays it off. There's something happening here that was not specific. We don't know. We have to make it up at the end. And something has happened at the beginning that led to you saying, okay, you have 3 guests in 2 rooms for 1 week. You get to make up what those things are. Okay? Make your choices. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. I doubt you will. Let's see what happens. Throw yourselves into it. I know this feels a little bit like being dropped in the deep end and saying, all right now, swim. But let's just roll with it, all right? I think you're going to be better off than you think you are. There is no right or wrong. There's only a range of like what we can adjust. So this is the second scene you may choose from. And then the third scene is Armstrong. Armstrong is a teacher. Armstrong. Rachel, a student, gets up mortified, throws her food away, tries to leave the cafeteria. Armstrong intercepts her, says, "You going somewhere, Miss Jensen?" Rachel gives Armstrong, we can say it can be a him or a her, a hateful smile, turns, finds a miscellaneous table and sits. She keeps her head down. I hate this place, save me. So, again, before you intercept her, you're doing something in this cafeteria. I don't know what it is. You get to choose. And after she goes back to her seat, something else happens. And that takes you to the end of your scene. The line, all of this stuff before and all of this stuff after, is what you get to build in. Okay, so you may pick one of those. I will send you the instructions on how to film it. And here's what I'm going to offer you. I'm going to offer you the opportunity to turn in 2 different versions of it if you want. So it's not mandatory, but I'm offering you an alternate take. So that if you want to share with me a different way of thinking about who this person is or how they behave, you can give me that. This is not uncommon for 1-line to 3-line reads because they're so short that sometimes casting wants to know, well, what else can you do? Or what else might you do? So that's a lot of stuff tonight. I thank you all for sticking it out while I just dumped my guts in front of you. Blah, 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 blah. But the rest of the time, this will be a lot about you guys and your work. And I want you to know that while I will have things to offer about auditions, I will be asking you also, based on the critiques maybe of yours that I've given you, to observe and make comments about other people's auditions. And this is what I want to end with. There is only one person in this room that can say things like, you should have done this, or I would do this, and that's me. However, what you may comment on is, when you did this, I liked it because, when you did this, I learned something about your character because this surprised me. Those kinds of observations are more than welcome. And don't worry, every once in a while somebody will drift off into the, you know what you should have done? And I'll just step in and say, okay, no. Let's see if we can reframe that. But I want you to watch one another's work because sometimes we learn a lot about our own by applying what we know about our own to the work of others. And I want it to be in constructive spirit and very positive, okay?
All right.
All right. Marvelous. I am very excited about this. As far as our schedule goes, I do not anticipate any interruptions in the course of our class with the possible exception of the week of the 16th of September, or 18th of September. 18th of September. I may be in Portugal that week. For the first time in 30 years, I have applied to go train myself in something. It's been a very long time since I've gone and taken a class. So I've applied for a workshop with a world-renowned speech and a voice coach who does Shakespeare and presentation coaching. So I hope to learn some new things. But I haven't been accepted yet. You will know when I am, if I am. Okay? Beautiful. Thank you all. If you have questions, let me know. Any questions before we go?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night. I will see you next week. Take care. Be
Thank
well.
you.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.